Hey there, and welcome. Today, we're going to zoom way in to look at the very fabric of life itself. We're talking about tissues. These are the fundamental building blocks that come together to create pretty much every complex living thing on the planet, from a tiny blade of grass all the way up to, well, us.
But that brings up a really big question, doesn't it? How do you get from just one single cell to something as incredibly complex as a giant redwood tree or a person? The answer, it turns out, is all about teamwork and specialization. The answer is tissues.
All right, so here's our game plan. We'll start with the basic idea of these cellular work crews. Then we'll check out how plants solve the problems of growth and transport. After that, we're jumping over to the animal kingdom to see how we handle things like protection, connection, and of course, movement.
So first things first, what exactly are we even talking about when we use the word tissue?
At its core, a tissue is just a team of cells that all come from the same place and have been tweaked to do one specific job really well. You can think of them as the body's dedicated work crews. You've got the construction crew, the plumbing crew, the communications team, all working together to get the job done.
Let's kick things off with plants. Now, one of their biggest challenges is that they have to keep growing, sometimes for their entire lives. How do they pull that off? Well, their secret is having two very different kinds of tissue.
So plant tissues basically fall into two big buckets. On one hand, you have meristematic tissues. These are the growth zones, where cells are just dividing like crazy to make new parts. Then, once those new cells grow up a bit, they become permanent tissues, the specialized workers that pick a career, like support or transport, and stop dividing.
And these growth zones are put in really strategic spots to control how the plant is shaped. The apical meristems at the very tips make the plant taller, while the lateral ones on the sides make it wider, like a tree trunk. The cells themselves are super simple and are basically built for just one thing, dividing as fast as possible to fuel all that growth. Okay, so a plant has grown bigger. Great. But now it has a whole new set of problems. How does it stay standing up? And how does it get water from its roots all the way up to the leaves at the top? This is where those specialized permanent tissues really shine.
To build its main framework, a plant really relies on three types of tissue. You've got parenchyma, which are kind of the general-purpose cells for storage and photosynthesis. For flexible support, like in a young, bendy stem, it uses collenchyma. And for that super rigid strength, we're talking wood or the shell of a nut, it uses sclerenchyma, whose cells are actually dead, which is pretty wild.
But just being strong isn't enough. A plant needs a plumbing system. And to build something that complex, you need different cell types working together. That's what we call, well, complex tissues. And this system has two main pipelines. The xylem is like a one-way street of dead, hollow cells that act like straws, pulling water up from the roots. The phloem, on the other hand, is a two-way highway made of living cells, moving that sugary food made in the leaves down to wherever else the plant needs it. Okay, time to switch gears and jump over to the animal kingdom. We've got our own unique set of problems to solve. So first up, how do we protect ourselves from everything out there, while also connecting all of our internal parts into one cohesive unit?
Our first line of defense is epithelial tissue. I like to think of it as the body's smart armor. It lines every single surface, both inside and out. Its cells are packed super tightly to form a barrier that isn't just for protection. It's also a gatekeeper, deciding what nutrients to absorb and what substances to secrete.
Next up, you've got to glue all the internal parts together, and that's the job of connective tissue. Now, you might be thinking of bone or cartilage, but one of the most amazing examples is actually blood. It literally connects the entire body, transporting everything from oxygen to hormones, all floating in its special fluid matrix called plasma.
So we're protected and we're connected. But we're not just static blobs, right? We need to get things done. How do we move? And how do our cells talk to each other to coordinate everything? This requires our most dynamic tissues yet.
Skeletal muscle is the stuff you consciously control. Think about flexing your bicep. That's skeletal muscle. It's attached to your bones and lets you move around.
Then you've got smooth muscle. This is the automatic stuff, working behind the scenes in your organs, handling things like digestion. You don't have to think about it, it just works.
And finally, there's the rock star of the group, cardiac muscle. It's totally unique to the heart, and it beats rhythmically and involuntarily for your entire life without ever taking a break.
All right, let's put them all side by side. You can really see the key differences here. Skeletal muscle is powerful, but it gets tired. Smooth muscle is a marathon runner, built for endurance. But cardiac muscle, it's the best of both worlds. It's powerful, involuntary, and it literally never gets tired, partly thanks to these special connections between its cells called intercalated discs.
Of course, all this muscle would be useless without a conductor, a way to coordinate everything. And that is the job of our final tissue type, the body's high-speed communications network.
The heart of this network is the neuron, a cell that's built for pure speed. The dendrites act like antennas, picking up signals. The cell body is the command center that processes them. And the axon is the long transmission cable that sends the signal flying onward. And it's often wrapped in an insulating myelin sheath that makes it lightning fast.
So, when you take a step back, it's pretty clear that tissues are really just the story of teamwork on an unbelievable scale. They are the beautiful result of cells deciding to specialize and work together, which allowed for all the incredible, complex life we see around us today.
And that leaves us with a final, kind of mind-blowing thought. We understand how these tissues build us. But as we learn more, what if we could learn to speak their language? Could we one day direct them, command them to regenerate, to rebuild and repair our bodies in ways that right now we can only dream of? The future of medicine probably lies in that very answer.